earGROUND. earGROUND. Keep your ears on the ground. earGROUND, the leading source for all creative and cultural content.
Hello, greetings and welcome to earGROUND, Your Voices Amplified. My name is Plot Marco. Welcome to the platform that speaks to some of the amazing creatives, but also some of the beautiful creatives in the country and on the African continent. And today we're going to be speaking to somebody who doesn't need an introduction because we know her, we love her. She's been mesmerizing us with her DJing skills, and she's a multi-faceted creative. She does more than just, DJing. And her name is King Hair. King Hair, welcome to earGROUND.
How are you, Claude? Mr. Marco?
I'm good.
Thank you for having me on your platform. I see you guys are doing some amazing work. I'm still waiting for my poster with all that text that you designed because it was so cool. And then he said, no, I'll do one for you. Nanasi, I'm just waiting.
I actually did one. Let me see. I'm going to check if I still have it. I did one, but I was not so convinced. So I think now because I've got some new pictures of you, I'm going to rework with those pictures. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. So in the next 2 days, definitely expect something coming from it.
I'm timing it from now, 2 days from now.
I like that. This is not the first time that I'm speaking to you because you are amazing and your story keeps, evolving and you keep making new inroads within the entertainment space in Zimbabwe. And also your following is growing, and I thought, we need to definitely have a conversation. But for somebody who missed out on the last part, it's always interesting because for them, they look at you and they're trying to really understand, are you Zimbabwean? Are you Japanese? Like, what's your background? I mean, what's your background? Because you speak Shona fluently. And for a lot of people, that comes in as like, oh, wow, because we're not accustomed to that. In a brief, Natsumi.
So I am born and bred Zimbabwean. I speak no Japanese. Actually, this year, one of my resolutions is to actually learn Japanese because now it's embarrassing for me to be like, okay, so do you speak Japanese? I know the basics, how to greet and things, but if it's Shona, I can have a whole conversation in Shona. So I grew up and I was raised in Zimbabwe. I did my tertiary education in South Africa. I then had a couple of jobs in SA. I was in pharmaceuticals, believe it or not.
Oh, wow.
And then from pharmaceuticals, I went into sales and marketing. And I then moved back to Zimbabwe and started off with TV. And I had no experience in TV whatsoever. I worked with Battle of the Chefs. I worked at ZTN. And now I'm actually working on my own TV production, a TV show, which is more of, it's more of a hot wings kind of show with some really crazy questions in it. And we get to interview various people, from your influencers to people in corporate to, our superstars here in Zimbabwe. And then at the same time, the DJing career also flourished. I've been DJing for the past 8 years now. Now we're counting 8th year. I'm releasing a track this year.
That's awesome.
It's still under the works. This track is going to be with Verseless and a team in the Netherlands. I can't disclose yet, but they are quite big in the techno scene. So that's actually going to be quite exciting. And I had left 4 months ago to start a couple of projects in Cape Town, which went very well. I'm also doing radio every Wednesdays with Radio Musica. And back in Zim, back in business.
This is mind-blowing. I mean, from pharmaceuticals and, getting into DJing, now also making music and TV production. Like, how do you even balance all of these things as one person?
For the most part, I had to put the corporate side and the medical side, on hold for a bit because I wanted to focus more on the artistic and arts and cultural sector of things, which is a lot of work as well. But if I am to venture more into more corporate settings, it's more along graphic design, because I'm a graphic designer as well. I studied graphic design. So usually when people look at my resume, they're like, everything. What's going on? There's
what
like
did you not do?
I'm like, this is this is me. I'm a shapeshifter. Movies, I'm there. Music, I'm there. Corporate sector, I'm there. Arts and culture, I'm there. And I just feel like there's various ways you can express yourself creatively, and it doesn't have to be the norm. And I like to always think outside the box.
Wow. And then thinking outside of the box, there's something that you've already been doing. And I was making a post the other day talking about South African DJs and how they bring life to their set. I look at Uncle Waffles and all the other DJs, and the only person that came into mind, not disrespect to other DJs, but you came into mind as somebody who has for long already been doing that. I look at your attire, outfits when you're going there to DJ, and the way that you're grooving and vibing to the music, even if you're playing your Zimdancer, you're playing amapiano or any other music, you're still grooving, you're vibing, you're part of the entertainment.
I've said to myself, I'm that DJ that leaves the deck and goes on stage and actually gives the crowd a performance, whether it's dancing or whether it's mixing and mingling with the crowd. It's very crucial. I think especially here in Zimbabwe, what DJs need to learn is that you're not just there to play a set, it's also a performance. So your look counts, you have to put together an outfit, because that is part of the package. Your look counts, your performance counts, how you interact with your crowd counts as well. I mean, if you see Uncle Waffles, she's very successful because her crowd interaction is on point. And this is what we need to strive to do in our sector, especially.
Mm-hmm. Well, that is very interesting. I mean, you being away for the past 4 months and coming back to Zim, you were in SA. Obviously, the scene there in SA had shifted, and you're coming back also to Zimbabwe. The scene is also shifting. There are a lot of dynamics, a lot of changes that are happening. What could you say is sort of the most unique thing that is happening in South Africa that you could attribute the success that we are seeing their sound now, amapiano, going global to?
We've got a lot of work to do. That's the one thing I can say, especially in the music industry. We have a lot of work to do. We need to first things first is we need to be united in a sense of supporting each other with our music here in Zimbabwe. It's very easy to support the Nigerians with Afro beats, South Africans with amapiano. We need to have a distinguished sound. And I feel like Zimdancer was one of our most distinguished sounds, Sungura as well, and if we, even Afro pop, we've got a certain melody that is very relatable in a sense where you're like, okay, this is actual Zimbabwean music. And we need to push that. We also need to encourage DJs to push local music as well. The radio stations are playing local music, but at events, DJs need to start pushing local artists so that people do fall in love with the music and don't just rush for what's trending. So when I say we've got a lot of work to do, especially with entertainment, we have a lot of work in terms of performances, stage performances, stage presence, interaction, and even just marketing itself. Being away has really just been an eye-opener to both worlds to see, okay, where can I improve as an artist? And what are people doing on an international scale that I can then feed back home?
Great. Well, this is very interesting. You touch on so many things there. And I think what caught my attention is you mentioned Zimdancer is one of the unique sounds that we have that had the potential. What do we think we could have missed it in terms of really making our sound a bit more universal and evolve in that direction? Or we're on track? What's your take?
It's the hype. It's the hype. The way other countries hype their own music is unbelievable. Music is not just something that you listen to on radio. It can also be scores for movies, short films, TV series. It can also venture into gaming arts as well, and even theater productions. Something that's crucial. And I feel like we don't really push our music when it comes to venturing out the box once again, in the sense of how do we then market our local music. And if you go outside of Zimbabwe, for example, Amapiano doesn't just get pushed onto stage performances and on radio. Amapiano becomes soundtracks for series on Netflix. Amapiano has now become a global genre in just a short space of time. In about a year, we can say in a year, Amapiano has just grown and blown in every country, to the point where you even have artists like Doja Cat that want to now release an Amapiano track. I mean, we should have Doja Cat being inspired to collaborate with your Nutty O's, Pop Tens, Winky D's on a track that's a Zimdancer track. And this is something that we need to encourage people that, we also have a unique sound that we need to push as artists.
Wow. And I mean, as a DJ, I mean, you're playing quite a lot. What would you say is the most preferred sound right now in Zimbabwe at events?
Besides Amapiano, I say Zimdancer still has it. Zimdancer still has that spark, and then straight from Zimdancer, we can go into Afro pop. I mean, Nutty O has done so well last year, and he still continues to do well, and it falls under Zimdancer and Afro pop. So if we can just focus on just those two main genres as a start, we could get somewhere.
Wow. Thank you so much for sharing that. I mean, it's good to get a perspective from somebody who's behind the turntables and, interacting with audience, on a face-to-face. But apart from that, now you're working on a project, on a production, musically. Mm-hmm. Does that put you on a big challenge, considering that you were playing other people's music, but now you're making own music?
It does. That's why it's taken me so long to actually release a track, because I myself wasn't too sure where to place myself. So with this very first track that's coming out, it's a collaboration. And I thought, why not just try and bring in some Zimbabwean elements into a track and fuse it with European sounds as well? That would then give the track more mileage and also recognition, in the sense where it's like, okay, who are these producers and who is this artist from Zimbabwe? Would like to know more about them. So for me, that's a start to actually then my stepping stone to releasing more music, because my plan is to fuse local Zimbabwean elements of sound with the fusion of, Japanese influence in it. And I haven't really had the courage to just put it out there, because it's a genre that people won't understand. I'm creating a totally different genre. It's not going to fall under Amapiano or house, or it's just going to be one. I'll find a name when it comes. But for now, it does put pressure on me as a DJ and a producer, because right now with the music industry in Zimbabwe, you're not too sure whether that song is going to be a hit or a miss. And because already there are other genres that have a stronger influence, such as Zimdancer, Afro pop, Afro beats, as well as Amapiano. It forces the DJ or the producer to produce sounds that are trending. And for me, I always go against the trend, and I try and do something that's totally away from what the trend is, hoping that it can just ignite into something, which is something that might be very interesting to look at this year and see how listeners and the audience actually do take this particular track, because it's not the usual sound that we're used to. It's not a trending sound. And I just hope if it works, actually, I should say it will work. And when it works, then I know we are on track and we can at least have something different to offer.
Great. If you're put on set right now, which are 5 songs that you'd say, I would not miss having these on my playlist?
You will not, I will not have them on my playlist.
Like you will not miss, like you definitely need to have them like on your playlist right now, like 5 songs.
Power is one. And Pere Power is one. by Nati. Oh, that one is it's an uplifting song. I think it's more than just, because it's beyond what the lyrics say. It's a very how can I put it? It hits me solid, you know. Another track that I would have would be there's a track from Herman. Is it Jandino Farira?
Yeah, Jandino Farira. Yeah, man.
He's got such a cute voice. Herman is he's such a breath of fresh air, and he's got such a cute voice. That's 2. 3 would be Anita Jackson and 10 Flakes. I don't know, but you know the science behind that entire song. Yeah, they knew what they were doing. They knew what they're doing. For the sake of hype, I would play Pombi by Freeman for the sake of hype. And then for the sake of bringing back something into old school, I think I'd bring back either Chimpeto or Macheso, because I always do that as an element of surprise.
Wow. You know, I'm quite impressed, I mean, by your choice of songs and, you know, the different tastes that are also in the tracks that you've picked, and that you have kept everything very local. Which is a very, very big thing. Like in your sets, like I see you play quite a lot of local. You've pushed even tracks that I had not, like really felt before. But after watching you play them, I'm like, yo, I think this is a dope track. And the next day you start to see them trending on TikTok and stuff. You're proudly Zimbabwean in every way.
Proudly.
And
proudly, very much so.
Wow. But do you feel the same, like in the public space?
I have to always try and confirm my identity. And this is something that I hope changes, you know, over the next few months or years to come. And I hope maybe with my influence, it could create a form of change, because every time I do bump into people, they always say, ndiwe pa TikTok, you know, and they now know me as the TikTok, or not even King Hair. I'm now known as TikTok. And so it's always that case where I have to prove my identity as a Zimbabwean, because it's one of those, okay, you don't look Zimbabwean, but are you sure? Do you have the passport? Do you have the ID? I'm like, yes, I do. Even the birth certificate, I do. And only until I start speaking Shona is that evident enough. And for me, I'm like, guys, you can even tell from my accent, I have a very colored Zimbabwean accent. I don't speak like an Asian person or someone that's from outside of them. I literally have maintained my Zimbabwean accent from day one, because I am Zimbabwean. So if I say thank you to my grandmother for teaching me how to speak Shona, because then it would have been harder to then, you know, prove my identity as a Zimbabwean, because people are not convinced. And that's why I always say, Musafurirwe nemaziso, because I mean, the eyes are there, but the body and everything is a whole different story.
Have you ever had such moments?
That actually happened again over the weekend. So I went with one of my friends to visit his mom in DZ, and I had so much fun in DZ. And we walked from his mom's house to the shops, because there was a barber shop there, because he wanted to get his hair cut. And I remember just walking out in the streets, then all the kids came running as one big mob to come and surround me. And I'm like, okay, what's happening today? So my friend was like, you're famous today. You know, I came with the yellow bone today, so everyone is fascinated. And then they're like, I'm China, you know. Get to the barbershop, and this barbershop is full of people and kids. And now they're all speaking Shona, like, I don't understand. And they're all saying, I'm China, and I'm just like smiling the whole time. And then my friend says to me, why don't you just say something, you know? Why don't you speak to them in Shona? So there was the one child by the window at the barbershop, and he just kept going on and on and on and on. And I looked at him and I was like, Iwe mkomana uyapano, pinda mkati. And he's like, guys, and they all ran away. The whole group ran away. So I'm looking and I'm like, why did they run away? And then they're like, you gave them such a fright. They didn't expect that from you. But I had such an amazing time. I did. I did.
Wow.
There's always that shock element. And I'm just like, there's
Yes.
nothing to be, you don't need to be shocked, things have changed now. But yeah, it was fun.
Now you are popular on TikTok.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen artists a lot of the times, creatives, struggling to really connect to the new technologies that are coming in. Why would you say it's very important for somebody to be socially engaged, but also utilize some of the platforms that are being introduced now?
I think it's important because we shouldn't just depend on one platform, to push or market ourselves as artists. Currently, TikTok is an independent. Facebook, Zuckerberg owns Instagram and WhatsApp, and I mean, we all remember the day when WhatsApp crashed, Instagram crashed, Facebook crashed, and who was out there? You had the likes of TikTok, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter. And I feel like now with how there's Generation Z, you need to just get yourself involved with the new apps that are trending in order to keep yourself relevant. So TikTok is one of those, and it's not necessarily a backup because TikTok is mainly for skits, music, and dance, and that's one of the best platforms to actually have yourself on as an artist if you are in the music industry. Having a song on TikTok and seeing multiple or even thousands of people doing a dance challenge to your track gets you the actual proper knowledge as to how much reach and mileage that you have as an artist as well, or influence as an artist as well as TikTok videos are very much accessible for download and they can be shared in various groups. I've had a situation where I've had people's grandparents from UK or wherever saying, you that's on TikTok from China. And then it traced all the way back to my mom. And then she's like, we tape TikTok, you will. And she doesn't even call it TikTok. She calls it ticking. And I'm like, it's called TikTok, mom. And then it's actually it's trending. TikTok is one of the most successful platforms that you can be on as an artist because you can instantly go viral. Any video that's a hit. I mean, when I started my TikTok platform, I didn't have that many followers. I remember I only had like about 1,000 followers, and I made one video and it went viral. And the next day, I remember going to bed, and the next day I woke up, I had 5,000 followers, and I was like, "Wow, what's going on?" I left the phone for a couple of hours. It went up to about 10,000 followers, and I'm like, from that one viral video. So I'm at the point where I've realized with TikTok, if you just know the algorithm and if you know how to place yourself, if you find a loophole, if you have a niche and you can show a unique side to yourself, you can instantly go viral. And that could help boost you in a sense of, audience engagement, sponsorship and endorsements and etc.
Yeah, true. And I mean, being a woman entertainer, female entertainer, how has been your experience or your struggles, if there are any, in relation to working either in a male-dominated environment or where perceptions are still not in the right place with regards to women when they're entertainers? How have you experienced navigating?
The guys are still giving us a tough time. I think that's why we're still very few in Zimbabwe. Another thing that has really made things a bit difficult is not everyone is an Uncle Waffles. Not everybody has the marketing strategy to dress a certain way, to sell a specific look or have a brand that pushes that kind of look, not everybody, and the hardest part, especially being a woman, is you need to look a certain way, you need to dress a certain way, you need to have a certain kind of performance. But as women, I feel like we're constantly being criticized from the way we DJ to the way we look, because we're constantly being compared to other, more established DJs that have a certain look. And Maybe, for example, I like to sometimes have a more formal, covered up look. Once in a while, I will try and Uncle Waffles it, but on a very minimal scale. And there's other ladies in the game that just want to be comfortable while they're working, and they dress for comfort's sake, and still pull a very solid performance. So that's one of the struggles that we do have in the industry, is we're being forced to look a certain way, because I feel like most male participants in the DJ sector expect us to look that way and think that that's the only way a successful woman in the industry can make it. Another thing is the boys still don't want to share. And I don't know whether it's fear that a woman can do better, or whether it's I have no idea. But what I do know is women now are becoming more brave in the industry. There's a lot more upcoming ladies in the industry that are coming up, especially in Zim. I have been getting a lot of DMs from women saying, I've actually started learning how to DJ. I can't wait to start my career. And yes, and I'm like, okay, this is a great start. And I feel like the more ladies that come on board, the more we can then have a more united platform to then showcase ourselves as women in the DJ industry, which would be awesome. If we can get like maybe 100 ladies, then we are done. We have made it.
Sure. I can imagine that. I can imagine how that will do, to transform the entertainment space in Zimbabwe, and also just the perception. But artists are the main beneficiaries of your work. Do you find them appreciating what you're doing? Do they reach out to just acknowledge, support, give you some promotional material and so forth? I've spoken to other DJs that said there's a bit of a disconnect. How has been your experience?
For the most part, if you do have a connection with an artist that you have worked with before or have performed on stage with before, and you do have some sort of friendship, if we can put it like that, then yes, it's very much easier for me as a DJ to play the artist's music. Usually, especially like what happens in Zimbabwe, is we play the most trending Zimbabwean tracks that are out there. Whether if it's a Zim dancehall song to Afro beats, and if it's trending on YouTube, for example, or Spotify, then okay, most Zimbabweans are listening to this song. Maybe I should just purchase the song and play it and add it to my set. If you don't have a connection with any artist, it is difficult to have that one-on-one where you do get promotional material, where you do get even acapellas to even make remixes. I think this is another thing that artists also forget, is DJs play your song, but they can also remix your song. And sometimes the remix can become even more viral to then push the actual original track itself. And I feel like that's where it's fallen short, is that we don't necessarily get any of those materials when it comes to acapellas to make remixes of a certain track. What if I wanted to make an amapiano version of Handi Pere Power? As a DJ, do I then approach Natty O, for example, and say, look, may I please use your acapellas? Are you fine with me as a DJ / producer making a remix? You don't want a situation where you do then make a remix of a track and the artist is offended. So I feel like what needs to happen going forward is that artists need to now be able to communicate with DJs, because at the same time, the DJs do push the artists as much as the artists push the DJs. If it wasn't for DJs, then who would be playing their tracks, at events, festivals, in the club scene as well? And so this is very crucial for artists to also acknowledge. As much as we appreciate artists, I feel like the artists also need to appreciate the DJ side of things.
Awesome. I would love to continue talking to you, because the amount of wisdom that you are sharing is just so much. And I think creatives in Zimbabwe, not just DJs, but in general, will benefit from this interview. And I know this is not the last time that we're speaking. We'll definitely speak again, because You keep fascinating us with the moves that you're making. Now that you're working on a TV show, we're going to be keeping our ears on the ground on what's coming next. Your favorite dish, what do you like to eat the most?
I just had sazane beef. It was amazing.
Nice, nice. Why the name King Hair?
Thank you so much. Because ndini mambo kadi pano.
I like that. Wow, thank you so much to everybody who's been watching and also dropping your comments there. I've been speaking there to Natsumi Mitaya, popularly known as King Hair. Follow her on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, King Hair. That is her official handle, and she's amazing. Until next time, remember, earGROUND, keep it locked. I'm out.
earGROUND. earGROUND. Keep your ears on the ground.